Now, Mark, I'm told today that you are at venerable old Fenway Park tonight where you'll be calling the Red Sox-Angels game. Is that true?
Do you believe that I'm up here in the press box at Fenway? A pretty cool view up here, I gotta admit.
That's right. I think when you're at the press box at Fenway, you're fairly close to God. That's how high up you are.
You are pretty high up here.
So in Washington, you're actually in heaven.
You're in heaven. Fenway's like the second floor from heaven.
Okay.
You actually in Washington, I think you're right on top of home plate. You look straight down at the hitter, which is a pretty neat view.
It is the neat view, but if you're doing play-by-play, it's very difficult because the ball's coming off the bat in a way that you're just not used to. Anyway, that's problems for play-by-play guys, not you, Mark. So we start with this. You're at Fenway. The Yankees have gotten off to a great start. They look at the standings today. The Red Sox are half game ahead. Are the Red Sox as good as the Yankees?
Yes, they're as good. It's hard for me to say which team is better right now because I think both teams feel like they need to separate from the other. Boston probably has a little better starting rotation. The numbers actually say they're even, but if you put them in a short series, I'll take the Yankees, the Red Sox starters over the Yankees. I'll probably take the Yankees bullpen over the Red Sox, although the Red Sox with the immersion of Joe Kelly and the guys in the back of the bullpen still doing a great job are doing fine. And then it's a toss-up when you look at the lineup. So I think they're as good. Who's the better team as the season rolls out is probably going to come down to injuries and stays the healthiest.
All right, 3 starters out of the lineup last night, including Judge. A day off today. I understand you want to get your rest, but with this new schedule with so many days off, I don't want to say the Yankees threw the game last night, but certainly they were, with the Red Sox looming, we're not going to push their players. Are you cool with guys getting the 2 days rest going into the Red Sox series and maybe it coming at the expense of a game last night?
I am cool, and this is why, Don. I actually just talked to Alex Cora about that with his team. You have to understand that while every game is very important, sometimes you have to lose a battle to win the war. And we don't know exactly if Judge's knee was barking or shoulder was barking or whatever was happening. Maybe he's battling a cold or something. We in the media now, I think we dissect every single lineup and every single pitch so much that sometimes a manager and a GM have to say, hey, listen, guys, my guy needs a day off. And when we had 2 in a row here, let's get him back. Let's get him healthy. Let's get him moving a little bit. And that's what happens sometimes in a long season.
Let's talk about Greg Bird, who also was rested yesterday, which makes me wonder, though, because the Red Sox have 3 lefty starters starting this weekend, so I wonder when Bird's going to play. Bird didn't play yesterday against a righty. I know you're a Bird fan. You know I am. But he's gotten off to a horrendous start. At what point do you start to get concerned?
I'm not concerned yet, Michael, because he's got 89 at-bats. And I've always thought that, in a normal season when a guy starts in April, you need to give him 100, maybe even 150 at-bats to really see where he is. Birdie's not even there yet. So he's proven that he's got talent. We think he's healthy the way he's moving around. So based on that, he's got 89 at-bats. Give him a few more weeks. Maybe yesterday was to clear his head. Again, 2 days off in a row. But this guy is so important to the Yankees because, let's be honest, him at his best is better than Neil Walker or Tyler Austin at his best. So unless the Yankees, make some huge trade at the deadline for a first baseman, which they're not going to do, Birdie is the best option for a September-October run for the Yankees, and they need to get him going.
All right, but you, an all-star, former all-star, when you look at him, forget about the number of at-bats, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing a guy that is in between pitches right now, and that's what happens when you're hurt for 2 months to start the season. You're trying to play catch-up. You look up at the board right now, the scoreboard, and your numbers aren't even close to where you want them to be. Teammates have 18 homers and 50 RBIs, and you're sitting there with 2 and 5 or whatever it is right now, and you start pressing. So he's absolutely pressing. He's in between on some pitches. And I think all it takes is 2 or 3 good nice games in a row. Maybe even at home this weekend against the Red Sox, a couple home runs. I know they're facing a lot of lefties. Maybe he won't even get that opportunity. But he's got to get it going and get into a little bit of a rhythm.
Now, you mentioned guys on the roster that can't replace him, but Drury down in the minor leagues can. He's been working at first base. When Bird gets to that 150 at-bat plateau, as you suggested, and Drury's still raking and play at a solid first base, would you consider calling Drury up and having him replace Bird, or would you only go as far as platooning with Bird?
I still think you platoon until you get Birdie hot. And that's a great point. Listen, in 2 or 3 weeks, if Greg Bird is still hitting under 200 and really not getting the job done, yeah, at the end of the day, you got to win ball games, and especially if they're facing really tough lefties, maybe bring in Brandon Drury to get the job done. But again, against the Houston Astros in the ALCS, I want Greg Bird hitting in the middle of the lineup against those tough right-handed pitchers. That's where the Yankees have to be thinking long-term here.
A couple of text messages from fans. This is from Danny from Verona, New Jersey. Mark, why can't the Yankees go on an 8 to 10 game win streak like the Astros to get a little breathing room from Boston? I'd like to answer that for a moment. They've been playing 800 ball for months, and they haven't gotten breathing room. What more do you want them to do?
Yeah, that's kind of a silly question. I remember a longtime sports writer when I was a young player in Texas asked me one day, he goes, we were kind of hovering around 500. And it was getting, middle of the season. We needed to make a run. And he said, do you think you guys could use an 8 or 10 game win streak right now? I said, yeah, I think I'd take that. I think that would probably help. I mean, of course, yeah, but that's baseball. You're not just going to snap your fingers and win 8 to 10. You have some really good teams in the American League that are trying to win ball games, and the Yankees, listen, they're a good team with Boston right on their heels.
This is from Kevin from Ramsey, New Jersey, and this is going to be a tough question: beach, pool, or lake?
Beach.
Really?
Beach, 100%. I love pool and lake, but the beach is where it is, man. That salt water's cleansing for the soul, man. I love it.
Yeah, but the sand makes me sick.
Yeah, but once you take a shower, there's nothing better than a shower after a long day at the beach. That is one of life's simple pleasures. An afternoon nap, a chocolate chip cookie, and a shower after a long day at the beach.
You're now just a gluten glutton, aren't you, after depriving yourself for all those years?
Oh, my goodness, I'm loving it. I went to Wendy's last night and had a double cheeseburger and a Frosty with my kids.
Wow.
It was beautiful, Michael. Now, I sat on the couch and watched the Yankees and the Mets implode, but it was well worth it.
All right, let's get to the Mets. Is it smart for them to have a three-headed GM?
You know what? I actually don't mind this right now because they are a team in a state of flux, and one GM is going to give you the way he thinks the team should go, and that's either a rebuild, an all-out sell-off, a reload, or let's go all in. 3 different guys in the room together putting their heads together might be the best thing for them right now. So there's a lot of different ways you could go with the Mets. There's the tear-down camp. There's the go-all-in camp. And I think they're probably going to end up somewhere in the middle, which is where the Mets kind of always are. And you're going to need 3 GMs to put their head together and pull this off.
Now, it hasn't happened yet, but there have been rumblings that if this season goes sideways anymore, that you may see Tim Tebow get called up just to sell a few tickets, a publicity stunt, if you will. How much would that bother you as a player, as a former player, if somebody got called up to the major leagues just to sell tickets or just to call attention on the team?
So as a fringe major leaguer, as a 40-man roster guy who maybe hitting 280 with 20 homers in AAA, if I don't get called up in front of Tim Tebow, I am really upset. As a season ticket holder or even casual fan of baseball, I think it would be really cool to see Tim Tebow in a Mets uniform when the Mets are 20 games out of first place.
Now,
I really do.
I got to throw this at you because Don wouldn't like it if he gets called up. I would understand if they're out of it. But I thought you played at a high level your whole life. This guy didn't play baseball, didn't pick up a bat for 12 years. And to me, hitting 266 in Double-A, I think is an extraordinary accomplishment. Do you feel the same way?
Extraordinary, out-of-this-world accomplishment for what this guy's doing. And I'm sure everyone's kind of been saying it, and it's a publicity stunt. If he's hitting 180 and making a fool of himself out there, yeah, it's a publicity stunt. This guy can actually play a little bit. And, will he ever be a Hall of Famer? No. But this guy's hitting very tough minor league pitching in Double-A, and I got to give him credit after not playing baseball for so long.
I mean, it's a great story. Don't get me wrong, and I have nothing against Tim Tebow, the person. I don't. But as a Met fan, and I would think if I was on the Mets roster, and the guy's batting .262 with 5 home runs and 27 RBIs in 60-something games in Double-A. He's going to be 31 in September, right? His birthday's August 24th. So if he's a September call-up, that's no future. That's just a publicity stunt to me. And I think that would bother me if I'm playing on the Mets roster. Granted, you're out of it, and maybe you don't have a kick coming if you're on a team that's terrible. But I don't think it's good for a professional organization to have a guy leapfrog over legitimate prospects just because you're looking to sell a few seats.
Well, the problem is there's very few legitimate prospects in the Mets system right now, Don, and that's not a shot to these guys. But the fact of the matter is this is a anomaly in New York, maybe Boston, maybe Chicago, where something like this can be accepted by fans, media, and the baseball world. This wouldn't happen in Kansas City. This wouldn't happen in Tampa. But in a place like New York, when there's so much negative press surrounding this team, you give Tim Tebow a shot, I guarantee you people are going to tune in to watch. I guarantee you people are going to show up to those games. He's going to have a smile on his face. ESPN's going to cover his pregame and postgame interviews. This is a New York phenomenon that the Mets have to consider, even if it's not the quote-unquote best baseball decision for the organization. They have to consider it.
I just don't think you do these things in a vacuum. I mean, how's it going to make the Mets look to the rest of Major League Baseball to know that that's the resort that? I mean, let's be honest. I would think if I'm running the minor leagues, I got a 31-year-old in Double-A. I'm cutting him. Well, he's not Crash Davis.
No, listen. This is again. The Mets have very few prospects. They're not going to be. You're giving at bats to Jose Bautista right now. Jose Bautista was one of the best baseball players for a 10-year period in the major leagues. He's not anymore. If you want to make an investment into your team into the future, you don't put Jose Bautista out there. Maybe Tim Tebow catches fire and can play 2 or 3 years in the big leagues. But you do not know that until you put him out there. So what you're saying, Don, is he thinks this is a joke. The guy's hitting 260 with some power in Double-A.
But, Mark, you'd have to admit that if his name's not Tim Tebow, they're not even considering it. So the reason you're doing it is not for what you're saying. You're doing it because you're trying to become the Somerset Patriots. Yeah, but now it becomes minor league baseball.
It would be a circus if he was hitting 190, but he's hitting 262.
In Double-A at the age of 31.
Okay, but if you take away his age...
you take away his name, that's the point. If his name is Joe Schmo, they're not even considering it.
Let me ask you something, Don. Do you think, best case scenario, that Tim Tebow could be a platoon 4th or 5th outfielder and play a little bit of outfield for the Mets for the next 2 or 3 years? Do you think there's any chance of that happening?
I doubt it very seriously. He's batting .262 in Double-A.
Okay. I think the Mets are holding on to some hope that he can be a serviceable major leaguer for a few years, and that's why they may or may not give him a shot at doing that. But until you put this guy out in a big league game, you're really not going to know what he has. Because as a 23-year-old, you put a guy in the big leagues that maybe not be ready because you want him to learn and grow into the big leagues. At 31, he's never going to put up monster numbers in the minors to quote-unquote deserve a call-up. And if the Mets are at 20 games out of first place and have no chance at the playoffs in September, why not give him a few at-bats?
I agree with you. I really do. And I wanted to add one final thing on this, and then we'll let you go because I know you're getting ready for the game. I hear things about clubhouse influences. And you could hate Tim Tebow as a player. You don't think he threw the ball well as a football player. I've never heard a bad word said about Tim Tebow. Legitimately nice guy, great with fans. Could a guy like that, who's won national championships, actually have a positive influence inside that Met clubhouse?
Yes, no doubt. If you want to know about Tim Tebow, the leader, you pull up the archives of the game that he lost. I think it was his sophomore, junior year in college. They lost to Ole Miss. And he basically had a 30-second press conference where he got up and said, I take full responsibility for this game, and I'm going to do everything in my power that this never happens again. They go on to win the national championship, right? That is the type of leader that Tim Tebow is. And if he rubs off a little bit on a few young players that the Mets have coming up, or even some veterans, then it's worth having him in the clubhouse. Me personally, if my team's 20 games out and Tim Tebow walks in, I'm telling him, you sit right next to me, Tim. You tell me everything you know about leadership and about being a good teammate. I want to learn from you. And if he hits 200 in the big leagues but can do that in September, then it's worth it.
Great stuff, Mark. Have a great game tonight. I'll be watching Red Sox Angels on ESPN, and hopefully I'll see you over the weekend at the stadium.
Sounds great, guys.